from Port Harcourt Center is Ken Henshaw. Ken Henshaw is the executive director of We the People. We the People. And so that name alone tells you a lot about what's going to be doing. It's one of the experts in environmental activism and social justice activism in this country, Nigeria, that we hold in very high esteem. The presentation by Ken Henshaw, which is on networking, movement building, and lobbying. What Ken Henshaw is going to take us through is very key to why we're having this webinar. Because you see, we have speakers from South Africa, from Cameroon, from DRC, and from Nigeria, and people are joining us from all over the world. But at the end of the day, we want to have a network of fishers working together and others working to really protect our freshwater and marine ecosystems, ensuring that local knowledge is part of it and that gender inclusivity is not taken for granted or ignored. And so it's now my pleasure to welcome Ken Henshaw to take the floor.
This School of Ecology is it's very, very important because of the subject matter it deals with. And so my presentation is going to be dealing with networking, movement building, and lobbying. I begin by asking a simple question. Why are we in this School of Ecology? Why are we in this School of Ecology? We are all here, we are applied to be in this School of Ecology because we are all students of change. At some point, we realize that something is going wrong and we need to transform what is going wrong. I have a favorite quote about social transformation, and it's from a revolutionary called Frantz Fanon. He said, when we revolt, replace the word revolt for change. When we revolt, it's not for a particular culture. We revolt simply because, for many reasons, we can no longer breathe. We revolt because we are tired of a system. We revolt because we are tired of how things are going on, because we know we need to change the existing realities. Yes, we need to change how things happen, and that is the reason we revolt. And that's why I believe every single person who's in this School of Ecology this year applied to join this school. I have a picture there of a man who is on the streets, supposedly a beggar, and he says, we don't need coins, we need change. We do not need coins anymore. What we need now is change and social transformation. And we are like that proverbial beggar who now wants change. I mean, we're tired of having piecemeal reforms. What we need is more groundbreaking and fundamental changes. It's okay. Yes, what we need now is more groundbreaking and fundamental changes. We all need change. But why is change so hard? We all need change. Everybody knows that the world we live in today requires us to make some fundamental changes. But why is change so hard to come about? And there are reasons that people resist change. People resist change because they believe they will lose something of value to them. They believe that they will not be able to adapt to the new ways of doing things. People are used to dumping refuse in the river or defecating in the river. And they believe that it would be too difficult for them to change those habits, and then they are resistant to change. It's a significant change to their daily routine. People don't want to change the routine that they are used to. And also because change takes energy, and human beings are calibrated in such a way that they want to retain energy. And people prefer their comfort zones. They prefer to be in a place where they don't need to take any action. And so for this reason, people tend to be more resistant to change. And the image I have there is of a meeting going on where people realize that they need to make changes, but they're asking, what if we don't change anything at all and something magical just happens? That image reminds me of the climate change conversation, where the entire world wants to keep going at the same trajectory it is going and hoping that something magical will happen and everything will change all of a sudden. And that shows the resistance which people are expressing towards change. But change, like we said, is important. And for us to make it important, I'm going to be speaking about 3 key strategies for making change important. The first is networking. And so we are all in this School of Ecology because we're already change makers. We're people who are deeply interested in change and have been working towards change in different ramifications. A network, essentially, is a group or system of interconnected people or interconnected things. It's a system of things linked critically together. In social change thinking, networking refers loosely to the ability of civil society groups, organizations, and sometimes individuals to work together voluntarily to pursue shared purposes of social transformation and impact. The operative word there is voluntarily. They do it voluntarily. So it is different from when a donor, for instance, a donor decides that 3, 4, 5 people must come together to share a grant. Typically, that is not networking. That is putting people together. So the idea of working together voluntarily simply means they have a shared cause, a shared goal, and a shared vision. Why do we bother creating networks in our journey towards social transformation? Because contemporary sciences, music, and even sociology tells us a story about interactions. In the year 1848, Charles Darwin released a book called The Origin of Species by Natural Selection and Survival of the Fittest, and basically showing us the interaction between different species. In that same year, 1848, a music composer called Wagner created what is called a dance theater, which is an interaction between music and dance. In the same year, 1848, Karl Marx produced a groundbreaking work which showed the interaction between sociology, society, politics, and economy. Prior to that time, we understood politics differently and economics differently, and that led to the idea of political economy. Now, groups and communities and organizations depend one on the other. And because societies are so interconnected and intertwined, it is important for us at every single point in time to network in order to achieve shared social goals. Now, embracing a network view of things invites us to consider not just individual elements, but relationship between elements, and to wrestle with the complex interactions of our everyday reality. We bother with networks because in the face of emerging global challenges like climate change and fighting for aquatic rights and all that, single actors can very easily be crushed and destroyed and annihilated. But when actors collaborate and work together, it is more difficult to crush them. Working through networks calls on specific set of skills and sensibilities. It allows us leverage on everybody's strengths and abilities. I won't bother with this, but this slide, which will be shared later on, basically treats the relationship between our traditional individual thinking and a network mindset, how we think when we work in mindsets. Now, in creating a network, it's important for us to think, who is working on a similar issue? That's what we need to identify. So let's say now we have an advocacy goal, which is to transform the protection of aquatic life. We ask ourselves in doing this, who is working on a similar social issue? Who are the leaders in those sectors? Who are the policymakers impacting your area of study, of work? What expertise do you as an organization lack that you require to reach out to other organizations and get that expertise? So for instance, if you have expertise for developing strategy documents, it's important for you in networking to reach out to those who have expertise in maybe infographics, maybe in planning protests and all that. You network, you use networking to fill the gaps that you lack in your organization. Now, who are the influencers? It's important for you to find out the target of your advocacy. Who are you going to reach out to make the kind of changes that you want to see? Now, the next issue which I want to talk about is making change happen using lobbying. Lobbying has a very bad connotation according to some people. People often see it as some kind of under-the-table interaction between policymakers and activists, but it is not so. Lobbying is the act of trying to influence a politician or a public official on an issue. Lobbying is just one part of an overall strategy or campaign to achieve your social goals. It is a process rather than an event, though there may be specific lobbying incidents along the way. In carrying out lobbying, ladies and gentlemen, you need to consider the following. What is the overall purpose of your decision to lobby. Why do you want to lobby? If the lobby is to achieve social change, in this case, the lobby is part of a proactive vision of something better. Is it important? Is the lobbying important to prevent something from happening? We need to identify that. Or is the lobbying aimed at changing something undesirable, something going on that we need to change? So these different ideas of lobbying, these different types of lobbying will basically inform the strategies which we implement. For you to be able to carry out lobbying, there are certain things that are very, very important, and I'll dwell on it just a little bit. You need to know your subject matter very, very intimately. You need to have knowledge of that subject matter. You cannot lobby on a subject matter when you do not understand that subject matter very adequately. There lies a major problem, okay? You need to understand the political context of where you are lobbying from and what you're doing. That context is very, very important. You need to understand the political process. So if you don't understand the political process of your state or the federal government, then you do not know when to lobby and who to lobby to. So knowledge is very, very key in lobbying. The next thing is that you must have the skills, good interpersonal skills, good communication skills. You must be able to write and speak. You must have good conflict resolution skills. You must have good planning and organizational skills. You must have very good networking skills. And you need to have a few qualities. You need to be assertive when you are involved in lobbying, but not rude. There's a difference. You need to be self-confident, but not arrogant. You need to be patient, but not timid. You need to have passion for the cause which you are pursuing, but not a fundamentalist. You need to be persistent, but not intolerant of the ideas of the person you are lobbying to. These are skills and qualities which you need to have in order to carry out lobbying. And I will spend just 2 minutes speaking about social movement because I know my time is almost up. Now, what are social movements? Social movements are purposeful, organized groups striving to work towards a common goal. These groups might be attempting to create change, like Occupy Wall Street and the Arab Spring that swept across the country about half a decade ago. These groups may be trying to resist change, like anti-globalization movement. This group may be trying to provide political voice to those who are otherwise silenced, like civil rights movements. But basically, social movements bring about social change, social transformation. Social movements are more widespread and effective than individual organizations, okay? So social movements are the work of a group of organizations or individuals rather than the work of a single organization. Social movements are the product of widespread campaign and awareness building over an issue or a set of issues. So social movements don't just happen. They are the crescendo point of a set of cumulative efforts, awareness building campaigns that are now led to the streets, pushing towards key groundbreaking social transformation. The slide I've put here is stages of social movements. I will not dwell on this slide. I'll instead move to examples of social movements. Do you remember this social movement effort? It's called Child Not Bride. Now, Child Not Bride was a movement that I put this movement up here because I was part of it. This movement was a campaign to end child marriages across Nigeria. It started in Nigeria, but it became a campaign that caught fire all over the world, asking that children under the age of 18 should no longer be allowed to get married. It was a very strong movement, and the outcomes in other countries have been very, very far-reaching. But this example basically shows how individuals, ordinary people with their mobile devices and their tablets could immediately make sense of a message, Child Not Bride, connect with it, and start taking out their own personal actions towards fighting for a cause and achieving a set of results. I'm sure that everybody basically remembers this one. This one was Occupy Nigeria. I put this slide up here again because it was something I participated in. Now, this campaign in Nigeria in January 2012 tells a very strong story about social movements. Nobody sat down in his house planning this, but it came as a result of an issue that affected everybody, almost everybody negatively, which was the government government's decision to remove fuel subsidy and basically increase the price of petrol. Everybody got on the street with their own independent banners. People went to printing presses, produced their banners, produced their placards, and went into the street to basically vent their anger and their frustration with the way the country was being run, right? And this is the character of social movements. They are widespread. They give you an opportunity for a lot of people to get in on a single cause and express themselves. But social movements are also a little bit dangerous. Dangerous in the sense that they need to be properly guided and led in order to achieve the results that were set for them. And this is where we, as activists in this School of Ecology, come in, to always stay prepared, have the skills and the knowledge, ready to take those momentous periods when social movement issues erupt and be the leaders of that movement. That is the only way we can move from our knowledge, our School of Ecology, our organizations. That's the only way we can move from all that to actually creating groundbreaking social change using the strategy of social movements. I think I'll leave it on that note. 15 minutes is done. Thank you very much.